Jack Jackson back with the last of the videos on the Unit 2A review exercises. This one just has 2 exercises in it. Exercise 16. Label each of the edges below with the correct symbolic probability and state general probabilities that probability trees have. Press pause now. Well, let's first look at the tree here. This first branches are the probabilities of those events happening on the first stage, which are just straight probabilities. Probability of A here, probability of B here. But after that, any edges that you have will be labeled with conditional probabilities on the condition that everything earlier in the path has happened. So the probability that we get a C here is the probability of a C given that A has already happened. So that's probability of C given A for this edge. Similarly, this is probability of D given A. Down here we have probability of C given B and probability of D given B, which are what those are. And then finally, to get the ones at the end, we have the probability of the path. The probability that we got an A first, then a C. So that's the probability A and C. Then here's the probability we get an A and then a D. So that's probability of A intersect D. This one is probability of B intersect C. And finally, the probability of B intersect D. Another way to say intersection is AND. Now, what are some properties of trees? Well, first of all, these things here, which are sometimes have a little dot there, are called the vertices. So the vertices are events, except for this first one, the root vertex, which really doesn't mean anything. It is where you start from. The first probabilities here are basic probabilities, but all the others on the edges are conditional probabilities. Probabilities out of any one vertex must sum to 1. So here, these two, probability of A and probability of B, must add up to 1. These two coming out of A must add up to 1 as well. Probability of C given A and probability of D given A are add up to 1. If there are 3 or 4 out of here, they would all add up to 1. And finally, we get the probabilities at the end by multiplying along the path. So the probability of A times the probability of C given A is the probability of A intersect C. Probability of A times probability of D given A is the probability of this intersection, and so forth. We can add up these 4 probabilities at the end because they are non-overlapping events that we're finding probabilities of. So if you add all 4 of them, you'll always get 1, or add all of them that you have, you'll always get 1. Since these 2 are the only 2 coming out of A, if you add those 2 probabilities together, you'll get the probability of A, and adding these 2 together will give you the probability of B. So, enter the information that I give you here in this tree and use this knowledge about trees that we just went over to complete this tree. Don't forget the probabilities at the ends of the paths as well as the probabilities along every edge. We're given that the probability of A is 0.3, the probability of C given A is 0.4, and the probability of C given B is 0.8. Finish the tree. Press pause now. Well, let's put in what we know first. This is 0.3 here for probability of A. Probability of C given A is right up here on this second tier at the top, so that's 0.4. Probability of C given B is down here, so that's the 0.8. Now let's see how we got some of these things. Well, these 2 add up to 1. So since we have the probability of A is 0.3 and the probability of B is 0.7, those are the only 2 things from the root vertex, they have to add up to 1. So that makes that 0.7, 1 minus 0.3. Similarly, these 2 add up here coming out of A. We know the top one, the probability of C given A is 0.4, so that makes the other one 0.6, 1 minus 0.4, which is the probability of D given A, right there. We already had the probability of C given B is 0.8 right here, and it must add up with this one down here to be 1, so that leaves 1 minus 0.8 or 0.2 right there, which is the probability of D given B. Now the only thing we have left to do are these 4 probabilities at the end, and we find those by multiplying. 0.3 times 0.4 is 0.12, 0.3 times 0.6 is 0.18, 0.7 times 0.8 is 0.56, 0.7 times 0.2 is 0.14. 0.12 is the probability of A and C happening. 0.18 is the probability of A and D happening. 0.56 is the probability of B and C, or B intersect C happening. 0.14 is the probability of D and B both happening. We can check some things. Number one, check if you add all four of these, you get 1. If you add 0.12 and 0.18, since they're the only things that come out of A, this is the probability of getting to A, which is 0.3. Add these two together and we get 0.7, which is the only way to get to B. Okay, so that's basically the end of these videos. There is an extra video after this where I also do some more review exercises where I work through some exercises of some that were posted in my math lab from an earlier class, and you'll see me work some of those by hand, actually kind of writing down some things as I go and punching some buttons on a calculator. So that's some extra review exercises that you can also use if you want to watch. But this completes the review exercises from that I'm currently using that are matched with the exercises or closely related to the exercises that will be on the practice test, which is a graded exercise in my class, and which in turn is matched pretty well with the exercises on the exam. So use these review exercises to help focus your attention on a few exercises, and if you can do these and really understand them, you're probably going to be pretty good shape for the practice test and the exam. Remember in my class that you get 2 chances at the practice test, so take the practice test online after studying these review exercises, and then go back into the grade book in my math lab, My Labs Plus, and find this assignment that you've already worked. Click on the review there, and it will come up with the answers that you have. Will come up with the answers that are correct, and if you answered it wrong, there'll be a little red triangle in the corner. You can click on that to see what you did if you put in something different than the correct answer. Then go back and study those that you missed by coming back to these review exercises and even in one of these videos if you want. After you do that, then go back and take that again. Hopefully by that time you'll have a really good grade and you'll be really prepared for the in-class exam as well. Good luck with all that. We'll be coming back after this to go on to the rest of this playlist, which I'm going to call now Unit 2B.